On the south side of the promontory of Ansedonia lies this beach called Tagliata. It consists of a free beach and of a beach establishment with a restaurant. The sand is fine-grained and dark, but close to the promontory there are also rocky boulders in the water. The panorama is particularly pleasing because the beach is framed to the right by the rocky hill of Ansedonia with its luxurious villas and the ancient Roman town Cosa on the top. Straight on, that is in the sea, there is the small rock island Formica di Ansedonia, and far behind you can see the shape of the island Giannutri. On the left, the long sandy beach reaches up to the region of Lazio. Both the beauty of the place and the ease of access make that in many days in high season the beach is definitely crowded. Therefore, we recommend booking in advance. However, apart from days of crowd, the Tagliata beach deserves to be visited not only for its natural beauty, but also for its historical value, which we will now show you. In the sea, there are still very visible the remains of the ancient Roman port with its piers. The construction of this harbor dates back to the 3rd century before Christ, that is to say, the first period when Romans took possession of the area and began to build the town of Cosa up on the hill. On the beach itself there are the remains of a Roman bath, always connected to the town of Cosa. Remarkable are, for example, the mosaics of the floor. The beach is dominated by a tower, the so-called Puccini Tower. The building dates back to the 16th century and was constructed when Orbetello was governed by Spain. The tower served to defend the coast, and this defensive character is very well expressed by the mighty masonry and the very small windows. The small adjoining building, which is now completely plastered, has been added in later time and served as a lodge. When the coast no longer had to be guarded in this way, the tower has been transformed to a dwelling. So the famous composer Giacomo Puccini acquired the tower in 1919 and lived there up to 1922. He did so because his real residence near Viareggio had become noisy, and this tower pleased him as it seemed isolated and wild. During his stay in the tower, he wrote most of the scores for the opera Turandot. This work ran on sometimes with optimism and sometimes with difficulties and significant contrasts with his librettist Giuseppe Adami. In this tower, for example, Puccini found the inspiration for his famous aria Nessun dorma, one of the greatest masterpieces of classical music at all. Let's hear a small part. In the promontory of Ansedonia there is the so-called Spacco della Regina, in English the Queen's Slit. It is a natural fissure in the rock which has been enlarged by human hand in the Etruscan age. The place is famous for its legend, of which there are several versions. A very tragic version tells of the beautiful Queen Ansedonia, who loved to take a bath away from prying eyes. For this purpose she used the cave inside the slit. By chance, Neptune saw her and immediately fell in love with her. But as the queen didn't give in to his court, he felt refused, and with anger he let a rock fall down in the cave, burying the queen and her court ladies. In addition, at this event, a treasure which the queen kept hidden in the cave has been lost. Anyone who has become curious after hearing the tragic legend and therefore wants to visit the fissure should be warned, because entering in the slit is not a pleasant walk. The access is not easy. Coming from the beach, you have to cross the canal on a tree trunk, which is really dangerous. If you successfully pass this, you can enter into the slit. Although sunlight always penetrates from above, the place is not illuminated enough, so it is advisable to take a good flashlight. The walk is about 300 meters long. In part, the passage is very narrow, but sometimes there are larger spaces extended by human hand. In the last room there is a well, built in the attempt to provide Ansedonia with water, because up on the rocky hill water is absolutely missing. From this last room it is impossible to go further, because a slippery rock blocks the passage. Along all the walls of the whole place, birds have built their nests, and consequently everywhere are spread their excrements. In addition to this, the place is full of objects which have fallen from above or flown in by the wind, such as plastic flower pots, beer bottles, small and large branches. In any case, the split Spacco della Regina had an important function, namely to regulate the flow of water at the port. When a landslide obstructed the split, the Romans constructed an artificial canal called a Tagliata. That means in English, cut. This canal is an example of the incredible engineering skills of the Romans, who cut the rock to create a 250-meter-long canal that runs initially to the open sky and then into a tunnel until it reaches the sea at the opposite side of the promontory. At the Roman age, the canal was equipped with floodgates made of wood, which according to the season were opened so that the sand and other deposits were swept away from the harbor by the sudden pressure of the accumulated water, in order to prevent a silting of the port. Instead, in case of a rough sea, the floodgates were opened so that the water could drain without causing any damage. On the left side to the canal there is a stair leading up to the promontory of Ansedonia. From there above you can enjoy a beautiful view to the beach with the Puccini Tower, the ancient port, and to the open sea.